I send a message to Joe Budden's podcast. Crickets. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But who's that Marc, the guy, the political
Marc
guy?
Lamont Hill.
Let me tell you something. I'd destroy that dude.
Brian McKnight is one of them people.
He's weird.
And he's done so much awful shit. It makes me really not want to listen to his music anymore.
All right, so Brian McKnight did an interview with Anton where he was giving his side of the story. Y'all know Brian McKnight has been in the news for years regarding his sons and their lack of a relationship. And so in the interview, he actually talked about Joe Budden and Marc Lamont Hill for a second, because he said he reached out to Joe Budden to try to do an interview and he heard crickets. Let's hear what Brian McKnight said. Like the video and subscribe.
Why? Because here's the thing. Why can't we sit and talk about it?
Yeah, I agree.
I send a message to Joe Budden's podcast. Crickets. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But who's that Marc, the guy, the political
Marc
guy?
Lamont Hill.
Let me tell you something. I'd destroy that dude.
Yeah.
I would destroy him. Not physically, but
No,
in
I
a
understand
debate.
what you're saying.
Because you don't even know me. But you call
Right.
me an asshole?
Yeah. Well, I look at Marc Lamont Hill. There's this segment of people that are what I like to call, they like to champion themselves as intellectuals, right? And that they truly believe that they're smarter than everybody else. But I don't really believe that because I never see the results.
Right.
It never translates, right? So
I see people hand him I see people handing him his ass all the time.
yeah, it's easy to, it's easy to say that, I'm the smartest guy in the room, but it doesn't necessarily translate into results, right? So I decided that I would do stuff on my own, and that I would have the conversations authentically with people that I actually value. And getting to know you over the years, I'm happy that you had an opportunity to tell your perspective and your story on my platform. Let me ask you one more question, because there's been a lot of people from the Ricky Smileys to all of these different type of people that run with a narrative but doesn't necessarily seek the truth. Do you think that they have a greater responsibility on their platforms to be not only entertaining, but also objectively try to find the truth, to have these conversations, especially when they have the opportunity to reach out to you and it's not like you hard to find?
I think that absolutely they do. And I'll tell you why. One of the reasons why the average watcher or listener is the way that they are is because they see and idolize the people that are acting the way that they do.
Right.
So why would they be any different? Why would they seek the truth? Why would they look for the truth if the people that they put up on a pedestal don't look for the truth either?
Right.
They're more responsible than anyone because they've got the bigger platform. So when I go out and I call somebody out about it and they don't reach back, that just tells me you're a coward, that you don't have the intestinal fortitude to sit here with me.
Right.
Because you know I'm smarter than you. And you know that I have a truth that you don't want to actually get to.
I think that another part of it, though, is that they pander into their audience.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
How can we expect the audience to get smarter?
I don't think they want them to. I don't think that they want them to.
Or to, the plantations that you talk about.
Mm-hmm.
How do they get off of those?
I don't think that they want them to get off of that. I don't think that they're interested in educating or finding the truth or any of that. I don't think that that's the play. I think that the play is to continue to monetize the ignorance.
Yeah. I see that too, but that means no integrity.
And real quick, I want to let y'all hear some of the statements that Marc Lamont Hill and Joe Budden made about Brian McKnight in the past.
But he won the money, and I guess, again, I don't know. He seemed like a piece of shit to me for a long time, the last few years. And I'm not convinced that he's not, based on everything I've heard from all the sides. You know what I mean? Everybody can make their own opinions. Brian McKnight is one of them people.
He's weird.
And he's done so much awful shit. It makes me really not want to listen to his music anymore.
And that nigga's fire.
He's got some.
And it's so hard.
Fire.
I watched the video of him saying why he doesn't talk to his kids. Why the video why he didn't speak to his son before he passed away tragically a little while ago. Right.
All right, but am I a social worker?
That's what I was about to say. Then I heard One Last Cry. on the piano by himself, and I was like, how nice was that kid?
Like Marc said, he ain't touched the kid.
Caring. I care about my trusted circle of friends, my network, and my family if they being the best person that they could be. Everybody else, I don't have time to police y'all.
Yeah. How are the harmonies?
Brian McKnight, I want to sing at my wedding. 4 minutes.
All right, so you hear Marc giving his sentiment and you hear Joe giving his sentiment as well, but I want to add this. They both saying, like I told y'all, I'm still listening to the music. You know what I'm saying? So it feels like, Brian McKnight, he didn't like the first statements from Marc Lamont Hill, but I just wonder if he listened to the whole clip, I'm going to say this. I watched this whole interview and I have a different perspective for Brian McKnight's situation. Before I watched this interview, I was with y'all. Now listen, I was still listening to Brian McKnight's music, okay? He was on that R. Kelly list for me where it's like I can separate the man from the music. Because he got some of them early 90 hits that they just not leaving my playlist. But I was with y'all. I said, wow, he abandoned his kids. I heard he just disowned them. He wasn't giving them any of his money when he passed away. I heard something about, changing names and things of that nature. Now, as far as Brian McKnight hitting up these platforms and how they denied him, unfortunately, I think that's the game. I hate to say that Joe Budden or Marc Lamont Hill are pandering to their audience, but I think they felt how I felt when I wondered why Joe Budden was sitting down with Candace Owens. And I thought it was a bad look. But I think for somebody like Joe, he's like, hold on, how will black women look at me if I sit down with Brian McKnight? But I will also say, if you sat down with Candace Owens, you should be able to sit down with Brian McKnight. Y'all know I love Joe. I talk about Joe Budden topics all the time, but I'm always gonna keep it real with y'all. If you sat down with Candace, you could sit down with Brian McKnight, in my opinion. Now his little beef with Marc Lamont Hill, that kind of sounded personal. And look, I'm not surprised that there's people out there who dislike Marc Lamont Hill. And there's people who dislike the whole black intellectual community. Y'all saw I did a whole video about that recently. And so, yeah, that's to be expected. And that's how Anton and Brian McKnight, feel. Obviously, from the interview, you could tell that they're friends and they speak quite often. Also, I see Anton in the space a lot. I watched a couple of his videos. I actually watched a video of him talking about Melissa Ford not too long ago. And he had some very interesting takes on her and about her past. So I don't really know how people look at Anton Davis. I would say he comes off as a little black, red pillish, if that makes any sense. But he is from my city. He's from Detroit. And I really don't want to pass too much judgment upon him because, I'm not really that familiar with him. But I think that is how some people view him. I definitely saw a lot of people who didn't agree with his take on Melissa Ford, but I don't think he was 100% wrong with what he said about Melissa either. So, y'all tell me what y'all think about this situation. And I'll see y'all next time